This video is sponsored by Surfshark, the best VPN on the market. Surfshark is an app or browser extension that allows you to change your location to access websites in other countries and keep you safe from hackers. For example, we here in Ireland can access other countries' Netflix libraries, streaming services such as DAZN in Spain for those all-important Premier League games. Surfshark keeps you safe and private by protecting everything you do online. When your device connects to the internet, all that information is, in a way, blurred out. Surfshark is particularly useful for keeping you safe if you use public Wi-Fi, such as a college or a cafe. Surfshark allows you to use one subscription on unlimited devices, meaning that you can even share an account with friends and family. On top of this, Surfshark offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if you don't like it, you can even get your money back. Our sign-up offer gives you Surfshark VPN for just over €2 per month and up to 4 months free. Why not scan the QR code on screen or use the link in the description to take advantage of this offer. What is up, my friends? How are we? And you are very welcome along to a brand new week here on Anfield Agenda. It is, of course, Monday's late night agenda where we have a lot to go through. Transfer news is moving quickly. We're going to take you through the news that Hugo EKITIKE will be landing a little bit delayed. It was going to be today, but it will be tomorrow that he's landing in Liverpool to start his medical. We're going to talk about what the future looks like in our attack. Are we going to be zeroing in on RODRYGO Goish of Real Madrid, Anthony Gordon, Malik Fofana, or dare I say it, Alexander Isak? We'll go through it all tonight, my friends. And of course, plenty of news about loans as well. We're going to be speaking about McConnell tonight. We're going to be speaking about Owen Beck. We're going to be talking about some of the new stuff released by Liverpool. Well, about to be released by Liverpool with Adidas. And a bit on Darwin Nunez' future as well. So, as always, ladies and gents, you're very welcome along. Feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments. And let's get stuck into it. Right, a couple of super chats I need to catch up on, which were in nice and early. And thank you so much, guys, as always. Chris said, Darwin has to go, but I see so many similarities to Diego Forlan. Same nationality, same style, failed in the Prem, then go and bag loads in Spain. Well, he is going to move on, Chris. And actually, do you know what? On that, since you brought it up, mate, a couple of things today. Apparently, Ben Jacobs has said that Darwin Nunez will definitely be leaving Liverpool this summer. If Saudi Arabia push for a move, then a potential deal would ramp up quickly. Also, interest tonight from Juventus, Chris, in Darwin Nunez. But Liverpool aren't going to like this type of an offer. La Stampa say Juventus are now preparing an attempt to sign Darwin Nunez. Liverpool are asking for about €60 million. Juventus would like to sign him on loan with a buy obligation under certain circumstances. Now, the price tag they mentioned there is the one that I think is probably most likely, but Lewis Steele said that Liverpool are looking for between £65 and £75 million for Darwin Nunez. So I don't know which one to believe, Chris, but I know which one I feel is certainly more achievable, and that's the lower end of that. But ultimately, whatever's the best business for Liverpool is what I'll be getting behind. And thank you, Chris, for kicking us off. Marcus, huge respect to the club, Jurgen and Arne for managing that transition so smoothly. We completely avoided a dip and didn't fall back into a Rodgers era stumble. Feels like 18-19 all over again, ready to fight on every front. Thank you, Marcus. It's incredible, dude, isn't it? You know, I was saying this earlier on. Every day now, every day getting up, looking forward to looking at my phone, looking forward to reading the news, looking forward to seeing what wonders we're going to have bestowed upon us at the moment. Because right now, folks, it is incredible, isn't it? Every day I say it, but I mean it. It's incredible right now to be a Liverpool fan. So I have a question about Manchester United signing of Brian Mbeumo, which was announced, I believe, today. Was he really in the last year of his contract? Because surely they couldn't have paid £70-odd million for a player in the last year of his contract. Now, I'm not trying to make out Mbeumo isn't a good signing. He is. He's a very, very good player. But was there a clause for another year for Brentford to activate or something there? Because it sounds ludicrous to spend that much money on a player with 1 year to go on his contract. But either way, he is now a Manchester United player, and like I've mentioned, he's a good player. I'm not going to try to undermine what United have done with regards to the calibre of player they've brought in, but it does feel like expensive for 1 year to go, unless there was an option there maybe for Brentford to trigger another year in his deal. David Massett, how are we, dude? Said, evening, Craig, bro, and community. Always a pleasure, sir. Always a pleasure. Jonathan Kirkley, thank you, mate, for being with us as a member for 9 months. AD said, Rodrigo and Hato would be great. So I agree. And for what it's worth, the more I think about this, as a fan and not just trying to boil piss with Newcastle fans on Isak, the more I think that Newcastle have really messed up their transfer window. 6 weeks to go, but we're halfway through it, and Newcastle, because they're digging their heels in around Isak, are losing out on targets left, right and centre. Obviously, Hugo EKITIKE is about to become a Liverpool player. But thinking about the structure of the way that we play in, look, I'm really happy. How mad is it that we're potentially talking about Rodrigo in a kind of, not backup, but other option instead of the likes of Isak? Now, Anthony Gordon can't be ruled out. Malik Fofana can't be ruled out. But it certainly looks tonight, according to many reports, that Liverpool are looking at Rodrigo, and he's brought in Pina Javi, I think, a bit of a super agent to try and get a deal done. So watch this space. But if we end this window with Frimpong, Kirkes, a new centre-back, maybe two, depending on what happens with Ibu. If we bring in, obviously, Wirtz, if we bring in Hugo EKITIKE, we've re-signed Mo and Virgil. If you were to bring in Rodrigo and throw another defender into the mix, wow, what a window. It's incredible. I can't believe what I'm seeing. Every day, I keep thinking someone's going to pinch me and wake me up. Who would you rather have, Rodrigo or Anthony Gordon? Rodrigo. Look, I've tried to explain why Liverpool are at least looking at Anthony Gordon. I've always been open-minded to the fact that a lot of people wouldn't feel the joy of Anthony Gordon. I think he would be an understandable signing, but yeah, no, make no mistake, mate. If you offered me Rodrigo or Anthony Gordon, I'm very much taking the young Brazilian. What about yourself, Reese? I'm imagining probably the same. So let's ask this to the chat. There's 3 wingers who are realistically linked. Now, I'm not ruling out Isak just yet, but if we're talking about a winger to replace Diaz, well, let's ask, because there's 3 that have been mainly linked, and I want to see which ones will be your option. So pick 1 to replace Diaz if he leaves. Right, so pick 1 to replace Diaz if he leaves. We'll start off with Rodrigo. Then we'll move on to everybody's favourite, Anthony Gordon. And then lastly, we will stick in young Malik Fofana of Lyon. Right. Oh, not Fondana, Craig. Not Fondana. It's Fofana. Right, so there might be another option, but these are the 3 being spoken about the most. So pick one of these to replace Diaz if he leaves. Rodrigo, Anthony Gordon, or Malik Fofana. Now, lots of reports as well suggesting that Bayern Munich are having a little look at Malik Fofana if they can't get a deal for Diaz, but excuse me, a bit of a hiccup there. At this point, they've spent so much time trying to get Diaz. It would be a pretty embarrassing situation if they lost out again. Zoidberg, apologies for headphone listeners. Oh, nay, slot, la 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 la. Oh, nay, slot, la 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 la. What a time, my man. Zoidberg, what a time. Zoidberg in the chat. John W. Henry finding his wallet. Liverpool going to challenge on all fronts. What a time to be alive. Gary said, I think if Klopp stayed, we don't have this transfer window. I battled with that thought myself, Gary, over the last while, and I don't know is the honest answer, but ultimately something's changed, right? Something's changed in the Liverpool world, whether that's a mixture of maybe our new manager demanding a few more players, whether that's FSG looking at the Premier League and thinking right now is the time to really put money into the team. I don't know why, Gary, but I'll tell you what, mate, I'm very, very happy we do have it as an option, and that we are seeing the window that we're having. It is quite simply, sir, incredible. Right, let's dip into the chat as well. Say hello to everybody in here. Don't want people to feel like we're ignoring the normal chat. Right, my friends. Easily Rodrigo, said Spencer. If we pull these deals, does Hughes get a chance? I mean, he can have what he wants, to be honest with you. We're playing a blinder in the window. We're absolutely just playing a blinder. And We still have business left to do, but you know what I mean. How could we not be happy? And how could we not give credit where it's due? Kemzo said, do you think Isak will come? I don't see him going to Saudi. I really don't know, my man. But like yourself, I struggle to see him going to the Saudi Pro League. I think he'd be better served staying at Newcastle than moving over there. But I keep coming back to the same thing. If you're Isak and you are destabilised, and we'll talk about that tonight, because even Alan Pardew, former Newcastle manager, is talking about him being a little bit shook, shall we say. You're probably wondering what's happening, because Newcastle are hardly building a team around him, are they? They're hardly, throwing money at players to come in and say, look what we're doing, we're building something here. And some of that is not because of a lack of ambition from Newcastle, but it's because of a lack of ability with PSR. So you're hardly convincing them to stay. Now, there was one really interesting story, my man, that I want to bring to your attention about the situation with Isak. Now, let me just grab it for you and make sure I have the right story. Okay. One sec. Because there's so many Isak stories doing the rounds today. I want to just make sure I have the right one here for you. Is it this one? Yeah, this one. So Luke Edwards of The Telegraph said Alexander Isak has been unsettled after being promised a new contract by former co-owner Amanda Staveley back in 2024 before ex-sporting director Paul Mitchell opted not to open talks. This led to acrimony and Isak's agent felt insulted. Now, they didn't say that he's been unsettled after an offer from Liverpool. He's been unsettled because of the way Newcastle... Are you hearing this, Newcastle fans? He's been unsettled because of the way Newcastle have dealt with him. I don't know what to say to that, but, we knocked on the door, we asked the question, Newcastle gave us the answer, but they're not exactly doing a whole lot to keep him there, are they? So if you've got journalists saying that the player's been unsettled by, Newcastle, let's wait and see how this pans out. Really don't know is the honest answer. I don't know how it all works out, but I know I'm excited to find out. Right, let's keep going. This one. Carl, how are we, sir? Said Wirtz against Stoke was red panty worthy. It was. And do you know what, Carl? It doesn't even feel like he was gotten out of second gear, does it? You almost feel like he was strolling around. And he had gears to go through. I thought we just looked really, really sharp. I thought he looked phenomenal. So yeah, red panty night. I'm with you on that one. Here we go. There was a comment here that I wanted to read. 1 second. This one from Frank Boyle said, listening to a Newcastle podcast today basically feels like they're resigned to losing him. Nithun said, am I the only one that wants Malik Fofana over Rodrigo? I wouldn't know all that much about Fofana, to be honest with you, mate. Obviously, Rodrigo is a slightly sexier name with regards to a profile, but I trust the judgment. Whoever the club want to go for, whether that's Malik Fofana, whether that's Rodrigo, whether that's Anthony Gordon, I'm behind it. But to replace Diaz, I would want somebody who's ready for the here and now. And I don't know with Malik Fofana if he's or not. I'm not saying he is. I'm not saying he isn't. But Rodrigo has played at a level that I know isn't going to be much of a transition from a point of view of moving to a huge club. He'd be coming from Madrid. He'd be an experienced Champions League campaigner, an experience of trying to win trophies. So there is that side of it as well, and still only 25. Feel a bit sorry for Newcastle when you see Chelsea are doing things very different, though, in their development and how further along they are. Like, whatever about before Todd Bowley came into Chelsea, Chelsea'd won European Cups. Chelsea are a bigger side. And they have the London aspect as well. I totally do have sympathy with Newcastle fans, but when I said they should sell us Isak, I wasn't just on a wind-up. I explained my thought process, and now they've lost out on EKITIKE, and they're still scrambling around trying to resolve a situation, and Eddie Howe's not getting the squad that he's going to need. Somebody asked me about the Adidas stuff. Yes, I shared some of it in the WhatsApp group, by the way. If you haven't seen some of the new Adidas gear, it's incredible. So if you're in the Anfield Agenda WhatsApp, you'll see some of it in there. If you're not, well, then you can scan that QR code on the screen and go in. It's yeah, it's tasty. It's tasty. It's right up my street, some of the gear. Fernando Krieger, how are we, dude? Said, we're going to win the league. We're going to win the league. Well, we're going to win something, mate. We're going to win something. You have to. With that level of squad, the ambition has to be to go and win trophies. Is there news on Rodrigo? Yes, there is. Let me run through it for you. I'm sorry, I've got loads of super chats to catch up on as well. My apologies. I want to just make sure I dip in and out of both chats and try and get through the news as well. So, L'Equipe over in France have said that Rodrigo is Liverpool's top priority if Luis Diaz leaves. On top of that, there was stories saying, where are we? This from Ben Jacobs said, Liverpool are not done yet in the transfer market. Another attacker is likely to arrive if Luis Diaz departs, with Bayern set to make a new bid. Liverpool have already approached Newcastle over Alexander Isak this summer, while Anthony Gordon and Rodrigo are two names appreciated, albeit without significant movement on either yet this summer. It remains to be seen whether Liverpool would replace Diaz with a like-for-like winger or reinvest on another number 9, given Darwin Nunez is expected to leave. And that's where some of the confusion's coming from at the minute. We don't exactly know what the plan is. Like, if Diaz leaves, common sense would say you go for like, you go for another winger. But I don't know, is the honest answer, how this is all panning out. And there was something earlier on today that spoke about the formation. 1 second. So, yeah, this one. So, Tanzanoik, who was the account that broke the EKITIKE stuff first, I believe, this from Anfield Sector, and credit them for the post, said, in Arne Slott's video call with Hugo Ekitike, the idea of a 4-2-3-1 is presented to the player. Slot discusses an evolution in the Reds' game plan, including possession sequences. In this context, he also needs a creative, mobile number 9, capable of combining, pushing forward, and also playing deep. Ekitike emerged from this exchange seduced. So 4-2-3-1 was the vision sold to Ekitike. So that might give us a little indication of the way Liverpool are going to be looking at this transfer window. Right, let's keep going. Isak will be ours, plus a new centre-back still needed. Yeah, the centre-back will happen. I totally understand the concern. It will happen. But like I've said, I feel like surely there's an indication here that Mark A hasn't budged yet. You know, that should give us a good sign of similar situation with Ekitike. He waited. Liverpool finally made their decision and moved for Ekitike. So I have a feeling the same might happen, but we need to figure out what's going on with Canade first. This one. Orgay and Haddo and take a risk on Rio. Exactly. I'm okay with taking a risk on Rio if we brought in another centre forward. But here's a question that I'm struggling with internally. So Chiesa looks like he's probably going to be moved on based off the fact that he didn't go on the pre-season tour, and Romano and others have been speaking about him going back to Italy. So if we lost Diogo through the tragic accident, Darwin Nunez through a sale, Diaz through a sale, and we lost Chiesa through a sale, is 2 enough to bring in Ekitike and one more? I don't know. I think you're right on the edge there. Again, it will depend on how Arne wants to line up, but the idea of getting rid of 4 and just bringing in 2, even if you're allowing for young Rio, still feels a little bit light. Or am I just being greedy? I don't know. I think Fede wasn't involved because he was getting married. No, it's because he's been sold. Like, he played that afternoon and didn't go on the tour. It's because he's getting sold. There was no, some reporters were saying it was to go over an injury concern or something, but then Romano was saying no, it's because he's going to move on. Craig, if Rodrigo comes, will Diaz bench or Gakpo? Well, Diaz will be gone at that point. Like, we only sign Rodrigo if Luis Diaz gets sold to Bayern Munich. And again, when we're talking about benching a player, it will be the same as when Diaz and Gakpo were there. You know, it's just going to be whatever player the manager thinks is the best fit for that game. So if Rodrigo came in, you would imagine it would be him and Gakpo that would be pushing to start on the left-hand side. We can't just think in starting 11 terms because, you know, that's what kind of had us in the mess we were in. We always had a great starting 11, couple of good subs, but the depth then in the squad was a little bit light, and we're looking to stack that up now. Right, let's look at this one. So, it's a landslide, by the way, with this vote. If you haven't had your say yet, we'll let it go up to about 3,000 votes. We're 2,400 in. And the question is, pick one to replace Diaz if he leaves: Rodrigo, Anthony Gordon, or Malik Fofana. And then I'm going to ask you the same question I'm going to ask you every day until it's decided, which will be, what's going on with Isak? Paul Bergstedt said, waiting for new Canade contract. I think that's what the hold-up is, Paul, for the defensive situation. You know, Liverpool ideally would love Ibu to sign a new deal. And if he did, we'd go after a younger centre-back, whether that is Joel Haddo or the kid from Parma, or whether it's somebody else. I think if Canade's decision is sorted soon, one way or the other, you'll see movement. And if Canade goes, I'd say it'll be Marquez. That'll be my best guess. Not that it's rocket science, like, but that's who I think it would be. I did see Lawrence McKenna did give you a positive mention on his latest video. Appreciate that. Always nice to have something nice said about you. Yeah, like I said, I don't have any issues with any Liverpool content creators. It's good times for all of us, you know. Plenty to talk about anyway. I'm worried about it being too much change. I do appreciate where you're coming from. I just don't see it myself at the moment. A change of centre-back partnership is always a concern. There's no denying that. But I trust Marquez if he came in to get up to speed quickly. You know, Premier League tested, England international. I would trust that partnership, but I get the concern. Fullbacks, well, the right side was forced on us, obviously, with what happened with Trent. And I think we've done very well there. Frimpong, Bradley are good options. Left-hand side, we all knew we needed an upgrade. And we've brought in Milos Kerkez. So if Robbo stays for one more year, maybe tries to play to get a new contract, that'll be, in my opinion, good balance on the left. And then in midfield, we haven't really done much except for the attacking side of midfield, which, you know, bringing in Wirtz is not going to cause me any sleepless nights. It's attack, yeah, maybe an attack. But again, we needed a centre forward. Hard to know what way the window may have gone if obviously the events with Diogo hadn't have happened. So it's a tough one, but I'm not worried about too much change at this particular standpoint. Where's this one? Lee, how are we, Lee? Said, mate, I've been away for a long time and coming back to this, it's amazing. This month has been amazing. Your channel has made me feel like family. Thank you. Oh, that's so lovely. Wherever you were, I hope things were good. Anyway, Lee, and thank you so much for such a beautiful message, mate, and your kind words. Really appreciated. Bournemouth centre-back is linked too. Yeah, he is, Solomon. We spoke a little bit about that yesterday, sir. Zabarani. I always, you know, me and pronunciations at this point, folks, but he was, but I just don't see Liverpool getting to a number there. Like, PSG were offering about 60 million, if my memory is correct, and Bournemouth turned that down. And I don't see Liverpool wanting to go into the centre-back market for that much money for some. I just don't. I'll be surprised. Joseph Reinhardt said, Gordon for me, Premier League proven and homegrown. Well, I guess I'm only concerned about the homegrown part, Joseph, if that becomes an issue. Certainly in the plus column, mate, no denying that. And I think he would do better than a lot of people believe, Joseph, but I don't know, mate. I'm still finding it hard to get past Rodrigo, if I'm being honest. Isak is the number one choice for me, but if I can't get Isak, Rodrigo be pretty damn good as well. Right. So we are nearly at the 3,000 votes. We've about 100 to go. It is an absolute landslide in this vote. So I'll leave it running a minute later. Let me fly through the news. Is that okay? So I'm going to run through the news as I have it from start to finish, and then we'll come back into the chat. So give me 3-4 minutes and I'll fly through this from start to finish. We'll start off with a little conversation around Real Madrid's number 12. And they're already starting it, by the way. They're already starting it, Madrid fans. Why don't we just convert him to a midfielder and play Carvajal at right back? And then Carson quote tweeted at a Liverpool fan saying, that didn't take long. It didn't. Next up, we had 5 players had 200 plus touches in the opposition box and had 100 plus shots and completed 50 plus take-ons in Europe's top 5 leagues in 2024-25. Those players were Mohamed Salah, Antoine Semenyo, Lamine Yamal, Kylian Mbappe and Hugo Ekitike, and Liverpool will have 2 of them. Next up was an Arsenal fan, I believe, saying $267 million for Florian Wirtz and Hugo Ekitike. Liverpool better win every trophy available next season. To which a lady called Shanno, spelled Shannxo, absolutely buried him. So Shanno, I don't know if you're watching, if you'll ever see this clip, but thank you for doing this because you absolutely buried the little bitch. And she said, if 195 million was all it took to expect every single trophy to be won, why hasn't Mikel Arteta been sacked? He signed 36 players in 5 years, spent over £800 million and has 1 FA Cup, which he won after getting 2 loan transfers in the 2020 window. I'd sit this one out, mate. She's absolutely owned him there. Absolutely owned him. Well played. Next up, we had Fabrizio Romano saying, Bayern Munich are preparing a significant bid to convince Liverpool to sell Luis Diaz. If the Reds show any openness to a sale, Bayern are ready to move decisively to get the deal done. Then we had Malik Fofana can also be an interesting option for Liverpool in case Luis Diaz leaves, again from Fabrizio Romano. Liverpool youngster James McConnell close to signing a new long-term deal and is likely to head out on loan for the season. Lewis Steele reports that West Brom, Derby County and some German clubs are interested in him. Ian Doyle said Liverpool's pursuit of Eintracht Frankfurt striker Hugo Ekitike and continued whispers of retained interest in Isak also seem to be shoving Nunez closer to the exit door. L'Equipe then said Rodrigo is Liverpool's top priority target if Luis Diaz leaves. Move on then to this piece here from Luke Edwards. Said Alexander Isak has been unsettled after being promised a new contract by former co-owner Amanda Staveley in 2024 before ex-sporting director Paul Mitchell opted not to open talks. This led to acrimony and Isak's agent felt insulted. This just basically from Ben Jacobs giving us the figures for the Ekitike deal, which is £69 million plus £10 million in add-ons, paid with both team and player success. Again, David Ornstein pretty much reiterating the same thing. Lewis Steele said Hugo Ekitike is set to fly to Liverpool tomorrow. Richard Hughes and medical staff have stayed on the ground in England. He will then join the Tour of Asia. AC Milan game in Hong Kong on Saturday might come too soon for him, but we'll see. Then we have the Sky Sports report that said, similarly to the Florian Wirtz deal, the majority of the bonuses in Ekitike's are tied to Liverpool's trophy success and the player making a significant contribution. They are difficult to achieve, but Liverpool would feel happy if they ended up paying them. Obviously because we'd have won stuff. Where are we on this one? Republica say Juventus have entered the race to sign Darwin Nunez from Liverpool. But they're looking at a potential loan with an obligation. Then we had Ian Doyle again. Say Newcastle's owners remain steadfast they won't sell Isak this summer and are still keen to offer him a lucrative deal. But the longer that stays unresolved, the player could have his head turned and Liverpool are on alert. Could there be a world in which the Reds sign both Ekitike and Isak? Unlikely, but not entirely impossible. Then we've got Alan Pardew, former Newcastle manager, saying that he believes Isak's head has been turned by Liverpool. Has Isak's head been turned? I would say possibly yes. It looks very much like it. Eddie Howe is trying to play it down, but it won't go away until Liverpool conduct their business. Then we had Matt Law of The Telegraph, who said Tottenham retain an interest in Mark Gay and have not ruled out making another bid. Liverpool, though, remain favourites to sign him. Fabrice Hawkins said Liverpool are considering replacing Luis Diaz with Rodrigo. Malik Fofana is the backup option. Bayern also have Fofana as a backup option if Diaz is not possible. Liverpool's asking price for Darwin Nunez is £65 to £75 million. Says, who is this one? Lewis Steele, with no club currently willing to pay that. This is interesting though. So this comes from Patrick Berger, who said Hugo Ekitike will earn 15 to 16 million euro per year, which equates to about £250,000 per week. That is interesting because we're believed that the base salary for Florian Wirtz is about £200,000 per week before bonuses. So that would be interesting. 250 grand a week for Ekitike. Big money. This one from Ben Jacobs for Born Red LFC. Shout out to him. Said there is genuine appreciation from Liverpool for Rodrigo. There's a lot of people getting carried away at the moment. The exact situation is a super agent has been mandated for Rodrigo's exit and Rodrigo will decide nothing before he's spoken to Xabi Alonso. Also, same interview with Ben Jacobs via Born Red LFC. Shout out to him again. Said Darwin Nunez will definitely leave this summer. If Saudi Arabia push for a move, then a deal could ramp up quickly. Bayern want Luis Diaz a lot. Vincent Kompany wants him. It's more than likely now that he will leave Liverpool. Liverpool won't stand in his way, but the offer has to be massive. Bayern is by far Diaz's most likely destination, and again, that comes from Lewis Steele. And finally, La Stampa reported that Juventus are now preparing an attempt to sign Darwin Nunez. Liverpool are asking for about €60 million. Juventus would like to sign him on loan with a buy obligation under certain conditions. So that's pretty much where we're at with the journalist report so far today. Now, I have to fly through some of these comments that I left hanging, so I appreciate your understanding. PC Drat said, would love Rodrigo, believe it when I see it though. Warren Cadman said, Fofana reminds me of a young Salah, hope we get him. I don't know much about him, Warren, to be honest with you. And with PC Drat, I understand the I believe it when we see it kind of thing, but in this window, mate, you got to be honest, anything is possible with what we've seen so far for Liverpool. David Core said, do you think we still need to bring in a centre-back even if Canadi is not sold this window? 100% David, yes. Look at it this way, mate. We've got Joe Gomez, Virgil, and if Canadi stays, Canadi. That's 3. That's not enough. Even allowing for Nello. We sold Jarell Kwanzaa, and we sold him because we were going to go out to sign another young centre-back. So I think we definitely need at least one if Canadi stays. We need a new song. FSG found oil under Anfield. I don't know what's happening, dude. Why they've suddenly start splashing the money, but I'll tell you what, there'll be no where's the money Johns for me for a while anyway, Will. Because yeah, like you said, the money's been found from somewhere. Well, we did run through it all yesterday. Mo Chathra obviously put up a brilliant thread yesterday, and we tried to explain it as best as we could. But like I've said, we're going to bring in probably nearly 300 million from sales. So a lot of money out, but a lot of money coming back in as well. Where are we at now? This one, Ryan Sampson said, it gives me so much joy hearing all the rival fans moaning about our incredible window. We can't compete, cry arses, trophies incoming. Yeah, and do you know what though? Like I mentioned this yesterday, Ryan, what's killing them most is they know that we're not doing it in some nefarious, dodgy way. We're doing it through money that we have and through sales. It's glorious because there's nothing that they can throw at us. Yes, they'll say you can't moan about no money now and you can't moan about other clubs spending money, but we still haven't spent what Manchester City have spent this calendar year. So think about that for a second. Since January, they've spent more money than we've spent so far. And I know who I think has done better business. Reese's channel said, I was thinking of keeping Nunez as a backup striker to Hugo Ekitike and sell Diaz, then buy Anthony Gordon or Rodrigo. then that's the transfer window. Look, again, like I've said, it's good to see that you still have faith in a Liverpool player, but Darwin isn't going to be here. And I know that's not the news everybody wants to hear all the time, but my job's not to lie to you, mate. My job's to tell you what I believe to be the case. There isn't a world in which Darwin stays, in my opinion. I'm not going to say he hasn't banged in a few goals in pre-season. He has, but ultimately 2.5 years, 2 different coaches, it's just not working out. Right, so we've had the votes. So 91% of over 3,500 people want Liverpool to go and sign Rodrigo. And I would very much be in that camp as well. Imagine having Rodrigo and Gakpo on the left, EKITIKE through the middle, Salah on the right, and then Wirtz in behind with Maka and Gravenberch, or Szoboszlai and Maka, or Szoboszlai and Gravenberch, and then Jones as well. Whew. Impressive business. Carl said, I have a sneaky feeling, Craig, that Adidas corporate have their sticky mitts into these transfers for Wirtz, EKITIKE, and now Isak, all Adidas athletes. So what are we thinking then, folks? What are we thinking on Isak? Is it still possible? Don't make me do a poll. You know I love an Isak poll. I don't know anymore. I think it's possible, but I don't know what would be best served doing. So it feels more and more likely that Isak's angling for a move away from Newcastle in my mind. I can't really speak to the potential of a move into Saudi because I don't know what his thought process is on it. But I could see a world where we bring in Isak and EKITIKE and use Gakpo, young Rio on the left, and maybe even EKITIKE off the left if needs be. But I guess we're going to find out soon enough, because as soon as we hear a deal's been agreed for Diaz, I think that's when you see Liverpool make the play for whomever it's going to be. So it shouldn't take us that much longer to find out what's happening. I don't know what that comment is. Great show, Craig. Reminds me of when you bought Saunders and Wright. I don't know what that means. Oh, Dean Saunders. Sorry. I was thinking going way back there. I think it's a bit better than those days, to be honest. This one. Nassim. How are we, sir? Said, let's not sleep on Rio as a key player this season. I don't think anyone's sleeping on him, mate, but he is only 17 or 16, headed for 17. He's got to be realistic about it as well. And what we don't want is a player who's burnt out at 25. So Arnold will manage him correctly. There's no denying, like you've said, the dude's a talent. And it's fun watching him. But I think sparingly is the right way to use him for at least another season. That's my take anyway. Isak chooses Arsenal over us, according to a certain fan channel today. The delusion in their fan base is the gift that keeps on giving. Oh yeah, I can see that negotiation all right. They're fucking cry arson over a few million with Sporting Lisbon, but we're supposed to believe that they're going to go out there and throw 130 million down on the table for Alexander Isak. Yeah. I can guess which deluded fan channel came out with that, to use your own words, Ryan, but or Cal, sorry. But let's be honest, it's not going to happen, is it? You know, if they wanted Isak, they would have made their move, but they haven't. They've spent all summer haggling over 6 million quid for a player who will cost them a grand total of, what, 70 million? So, yeah, not going to happen. Nor is them winning at him, to be fair. But their level of delusion is... It is quite astonishing to behold, like you've said. Craig Hughes said, strange how Liverpool fans want rid of Nunez and Real Madrid fans feel the same about Rodrigo. Well, it's not at all strange how Liverpool fans want rid of Nunez. It's very obvious why Liverpool fans want rid of Nunez, mate, because he keeps missing the goal. You know, let's not reinvent history. Darwin has had every opportunity to succeed at Liverpool Football Club. He has been tried by 2 different managers. He has been tried the arm around the shoulder. He's been given the tough love. He's been given everything. And the only reason it hasn't worked out is because of Darwin Nunez. So I don't find it at all weird. Real Madrid fans and what they want and don't want, well, to be honest with you, they are spoiled little brats, let's be honest about it. You know, they were signing Hazard, they wanted Mbappe. Mbappe comes in, they're moaning about Mbappe, they're moaning about Bellingham, they're already talking about Trent in midfield. Real Madrid fans are the epitome of spoiled. So, yeah, I hope I've cleared up that little situation there. It's not Frimpong, it's not Kirkes, it's not Virt, it's not EKITIKE, it's not even Isak. If we get him, that gives me confidence this year. It's Slot. I tell you what, the other few don't half help as well though, mate. Let's be honest. O2 Cornwall. And Arna's done brilliantly. And I mentioned yesterday, we need to make sure we look after Arna's contract as well, because he's signed a 3-year deal, if I remember correctly. He's had 2 of them left, so we need to give him another one. That, in my opinion, two-year extension for Arna, but I wouldn't be surprised at all, mate, to see that in the early months of the season. So a few people, I think, have said about the Adidas stuff. It's in the WhatsApp. If you want to just join the WhatsApp, scan it and have a look, the messages will be in there with the Adidas stuff. I don't have them to the right size that I can show them to you on here. This one. Craig, did you catch Arteta's press conference? The excuses have started before a ball is being kicked. The meltdown on Gooner channels will be delicious. That's all Lego Head has, is excuses. He's even trying to reinvent the situation with what happened with Partey as well in his own warped little mind. I've said this before and I'll say it again. If Arsenal fans really have ambition and really do want to win, then the conversation should be about him getting fired. Because he's had 5 years and he's won an FA Cup in the first year. Hasn't won anything else. Spent over £800 million. And all he does is whine and moan and make excuses. I don't get it. Liverpool fans wouldn't put up with a manager not winning that long. I dare say United fans wouldn't do it. Chelsea certainly wouldn't do it. But Arsenal, a club that's supposed to be ambitious, is continuing to back a manager that has delivered nothing except the money of Champions League football. That's it. So at what point do they actually start to say, shit, this isn't working and we need to be honest about this? You know, how long do you give them? This is the club that we're all supposed to believe were the best in Europe last season. But yet they were beaten by the biggest margin of any of the English teams that played Paris Saint-Germain. But will that sink in with them? No. Let them. Let them sit there in their fucking world of delusion, month after month, week after week, and let's just enjoy it. Lego Head is short of players, 800 million spent. I know. Make it make sense, mate. Make it make sense. Craig, even Spurs sacked their manager after he won a European Cup. Spurs have more ambition than Arsenal. Smokin said, who cares? This is a Liverpool channel. I do, because it's hilarious, bro. Come on, tell me it's not fun winding them up. So, you know, it's brilliant. Oh, and also, if you're in the Anfield Agenda WhatsApp, you'll have the link to the Anfield Agenda FPL, which was set up by Mark today. So if you do want to join in there, again, you'll see the Adidas stuff. You'll see the link to the FPL as well. If you need the QR code really quickly, there she is. If you want to give it a quick scan, I'll leave it up there for a few seconds. And yeah, hope to see you all in there, where I look forward to finishing bang smack in the middle of the FPL table like I usually do. Never even challenging for the European places, me in FPL. Demon Jedi Gaming, how are we, sir? Said, if Ibu thinks Liverpool isn't the place to be right now, we don't need that lack of judgment in the team. Agreed. Agreed, mate. But, excuse me, I don't know what the conversations are with Canade. I don't know what the offer is to Canade. But from a sporting perspective, you're right. How could you not look at where we are right now? And you're playing alongside Virgil van Dijk week in and week out in front of a brilliant set of fans in the best league in the world, in my opinion. I'll never understand a player not thinking at this time, they can fulfill all their ambitions at Liverpool. But again, I don't know what motivates each individual. Maybe Canade grew up dreaming of playing for PSG or Madrid or whomever. I don't know. But I just don't like the feeling of thinking that a player doesn't think that they can fulfill everything that they need to at Liverpool right now. In the past, maybe you could make that argument, when others have left the club. But right now, we are probably, along with PSG, the most attractive prospect in world football, in my opinion. Which is a biased one, of course. What was I going to ask you? So where are we at with Canade? What do we think happens? Do you think he stays or do you think he goes? I keep hoping he stays because, like I said, not having to make that change at the heart of centre-back is always a good thing, but I don't think I'll lose any sleep one way or the other. Good defender, formed a good partnership with Virgil, but I do think, Mark Gay can do as good a job. But if Canade stays, I'm really happy with that as well. I'm really relaxed on the situation, same as I am with Diaz. More than happy if he stays, but also understand 80 million quid as well. Right, let's ask a poll, because I really don't know what's happening. Right, so does Canade stay is the question that I'm going to ask. Jake said, "Hi mate, hope you're well. Is there anything on Costa's future at the club? Heard that Robbo could be moved to centre-back and left-back cover could be Kirkes and Costas, not sure. I should hope that he's not been moved to centre-back, because let's be honest about it, I don't want to see Andy Robertson playing centre-back for Liverpool. And also, you'd have to push Virgil over to the right in that scenario, which would again make no sense, unless you want a left-sided player playing right-sided centre-back. The whole thing just feels mad. So I've not heard anything new on Costa's future. I don't even know where we're at with Andy Robertson. I don't know if there's any chance of him departing or not. All I can tell you is he's got 1 year to go, Robbo. The Atletico Madrid stuff went away quite quickly. I hope Robbo stays, because I'd rather him stay than Costas, but I'd be amazed if we start the season with Robertson, Costas and Kirkes as options on the left. ES said, should Liverpool have pursued Gyökeres? No, we shouldn't have. Again, this is a situation where I'm not trying to say he won't do well at Arsenal, but we already tried to get a Golden Boot winner from the Portuguese league, and Gyökeres, whatever way we look at this, his pedigree is Coventry, Sporting Lisbon. It's the way Liverpool go about their business is they want a player to have had a career in a top 5 league, ideally before moving to us. Now look, you can argue that Hugo Ekitike is a roll of the dice. I'm not debating that. But at least he's played in Germany. He's played in France. He's 23. And yes, he's unpolished, but there's more to come. So I think Gyökeres will do well at Arsenal, and certainly don't think he's a bad player by any stretch of the imagination, but I was really clear in what I said and what I was hearing about Liverpool and him that it was never ever on the cards for us. Lucky Charm said, I think Slot was experimenting having a centre-back against Stoke. I think we're short of bodies. And against Preston as well, when Robbo played in the second half as left-sided centre-back, we were just short of bodies at that point. Chris Smith said, I would never loan out a big player, i.e. Darwin. If he doesn't perform, they would only pull out the option to buy. I agree. I'd rather keep Darwin than loan him out. And especially not to an Italian club who have history of these type of loans and never following through on them to buy players. So I agree, Chris. If you can get the money you want for Darwin, move him on. But a loan, no, I'd rather he stayed than loan him out. In all honesty, mate, I do. And that must tell you how much I'm against the idea of a loan, by the way. Thoughts on Dom at right back versus Stoke? Hard to say from a 13-minute set of highlights, you know. That's all I'd seen of it. That and then the shorter version of the highlights. But I love that Arna tries these things out. You know, we've seen Jones play in that position before. It will be interesting to see if Vert's coming in gives Dom, don't want to say a kick up the arse because that's unfair, but if it brings more from Dominic Szoboszlai, if that increased competition for places pushes him, it can only surely be a good thing. LFC fan said, "Hi Craig, I'm from Prince Rupert, Canada. So yes, as far away from Anfield as possible. I love this club so much. I wake up at 4:30 a.m. for the games. Love. Mate, I will never understand the criticism of people like yourself, or even myself, or our friends in Australia, or in New Zealand, or anywhere else, that get belittled because, you know, support your local and all that crap. Like you've just said there, you get up at 4:30 to watch games of football. Now, I moan about Liverpool playing at 12:30. So you'll always have my respect, as will all fans from all parts of the world, because I know the sacrifices you guys make. I've been around the game long enough now. I've spoken to fans from California that travel to bars at ridiculous o'clock to go and open up for breakfast to watch the Reds. I know people in Australia who have to get into bars before 11 p.m. for a 5 a.m. kickoff and stuff. Mate, I have nothing but respect for you guys, and I'll always stand up for you when people try to belittle fans from other parts of the world. It's laziness. Ben Miller said, "Would you prefer EKITIKE and RODRYGO as a duo, or just Isak if you had to choose?" EKITIKE and RODRYGO. Yeah, I think, one, you always have the injury concern with Isak. And look, he's a great player and I very much would love him, Ben, but you always do have that at the back of your mind. So I would take the option of EKITIKE and RODRYGO for that reason. Someone said, "Can we super chat without being a member?" I believe so, Addy. The only reason I read the super chats out so quickly is I'm a fecker for missing them and, you know, forgetting somebody. And I hate the idea of somebody spending their hard-earned money and me glossing over their comment and not reading it. So I tried to strike a balance between the news, the super chats, and the regular comments. But on nights like tonight where the super chats are flying in, it's difficult because you want to, you know, obviously acknowledge the generosity of somebody who sends in a super chat as well. But I also want to acknowledge the generosity of your time being here watching as well. That means so much to me. Off-White said, "Hope you're well. Is it just me? I would take RODRYGO over Isak." I'd have to have a bit of a deeper conversation with you on that one. Is it to do with the price, or is it to do with the playing style, or the player, or the pedigree, or whatever? Because I can understand people looking at the price and going, "What the hell?" Because the price is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I don't think there's any value in the money being asked for Isak. But also, if the club are happy to pay it, then who the hell am I to give out about it? So, yeah, I get where you're coming from. But look, for me, I feel like I don't know what to say. This feels otherworldly. It doesn't feel real, what's happening this summer. And I keep feeling like there has to be a catch somewhere. But so far there isn't. But yeah, look, he's overpriced. I said that even when he was our main target and we were still pushing. There's no denying. I see Isak as a £90 million player. But there's a premium on attackers this summer. Where are we on this one? Jamie Hall. How are we, Jamie? Said, "Hi, Craig. Maybe Canade stays this year. Then next season we bring in Gane. Canade goes to Madrid, both free." So there's no way that Crystal Palace are going to allow Mark Gay go for free. And there's no way that Liverpool want Ibrahim Konate to go for free. And no player is ever really free, Jamie. The way this will work out in your scenario is we'd still have to pay Mark Gay a huge signing on fee then. And Real Madrid would most likely have to pay Konate a huge signing on fee. So it's just a matter of who's getting the money. Are the clubs getting the money or are the players getting the money? So I just don't see a world where that happens, because both the selling clubs there or the clubs losing the player would lose out massively. Kyle, do you think Chiesa stays as cover for wings and centre-back? Been a fantastic window. Thanks for all the work you do. Best community going. So I'd hoped he was going to stay, Kyle. But the reports yesterday and the fact that he was left out of the touring squad really do point to the fact that he's likely going to move. Add into that, obviously, the Italian manager telling him he needs to be playing more regularly to be included in the Italian national team. And I just think everything is pointing to a sale. But again, more than happy for him to stay. It just, Romano's report yesterday was he's going. Now, saying that, I don't know where he's going to, and I don't know who's going to sign him or buy him, but certainly that's the plan as I see it at the minute. Right, so we asked, does Konate stay? It's still up for a vote. If you haven't had a say yet, yes or no, let me know. Right, let's go into the chat. Mark said I sent super chat, Craig. Any news or thoughts on Endo? Let me see, Mark. Yeah, do you know what yours is? There's one more, and then I'm at yours, Mark. And I'll do you know what? Sure, I'll answer it now. Sure, further do. And thank you, Mark. Appreciate you. Any news on Endo? I believe he's staying, mate. You know, he understands his role in the squad and seems to be happy to be at Liverpool. You know, there was quotes at the end of the season, something along the lines of winning a trophy here is more than winning stuff elsewhere. So, look, we're all Endo lovers, and if he's happy to stay, you know, when that gum shield goes in, Mark, shit's getting serious, and Endo Mania is about to run wild. So, yeah, I think he's staying, and more than happy for him to do so. Seems like it feels like he really did win Arna over as the year went on. Now, he's always going to have a bit part role, but, you know, at his stage of his career, if he's happy with that and it suits all parties, brilliant. Let's enjoy him. Josh Brayshaw, 2 full years with Anfield Agenda. Loved every moment. Thanks for all the laughs, Craig, and thanks for bringing me the light in the dark times. Oh, Josh, it's I'm incredibly grateful for you being here for 2 years, my man. Thank you. And it's mad, isn't it, how time flies? Like, honestly, I still can't believe, like, my kids are the age they are. It just flies along. Jordan said Endo will be used as a centre-back backup, as we don't seem to be looking at getting a centre-back. We absolutely 100 million% are looking at getting a centre-back. It's just Konate's situation is dictating the whole thing, mate. You know, if Liverpool knew Konate was signing tomorrow, you'd see us move for a centre-back. If Liverpool knew 100% Konate was going and we were selling him tomorrow, you'd see us move for a centre-back. And there's a reason Mark A hasn't budged anywhere yet. He's waiting to see what happens. So Endo isn't going to be having to be forced into play as a centre-back. If we need to play him in a centre-back for rotation or something, I'm sure he can do that. But we aren't taking our eye off the ball with the centre-back plan. It will come to fruition. It just, you know, priorities are shifting at the minute. Marcus Akoto said, Craig, I think cash in on Diaz and Chiesa and replace them with Rodrigo and have Rio Doak as backup. So this is again where I say to you that Ben Doak will be sold. As soon as the 25 million comes in and Ben Doak's happy with the idea of it, he will move. Keep an eye on Crystal Palace. Keep an eye on Nottingham Forest. I don't know if Everton's interest is still there or not. I haven't really followed their business, but it feels like he's going to be sold and 25 million is the asking price. Liquid said, before I used to have to dream of signings. Now I'm just happy Slot gets the players he wants. I just don't believe what's happening, Liquid. Like, honestly, like I keep saying, mate, and I'm sorry for repeating myself, this just doesn't feel real. Like, not only is it far removed from the way we do business, it's so far removed from the way that we've done business. It's just amazing. And I don't know any other word. I'm not clever enough to have any other words to use. Like, it's just amazing. What's this that's just been sent in to me? Right, so, funny enough, we were just speaking about Federico, Empire of the Cop, and credit Anfield Edition for this post. Say 7 clubs are lining up a potential move for Chiesa. Napoli, AC Milan, Roma, Juventus, Atalanta, Como, and Atletico Madrid are all interested in the winger. Now, I'm going to say here, Napoli should be told to go and fuck themselves for wasting everybody's time around Darwin. So Napoli should be put right to the back of that queue, in my opinion. Como would be an interesting move for him. Atletico Madrid as well. But yeah, for me, Napoli can do one. You know, that they can be pushed right to the back of the queue for wasting everybody's time with the Darwin situation. But yeah, 7 options there for him. This one, Vidor, does Gay's lack of aerial prowess concern you? Yes and no. So every defender would probably have 7 things I'm happy with, 3 things I'm not happy with. So Canade has the aerial prowess, but I think he's a bit jittery. I think he gets too touch tight. I think he overcommits sometimes too quickly. I think he can have a mental lapse at times. So there are things he does that I'm really happy with and things that concern me. And Mark A, I feel, would give us more 7 out of 10 performances than Ibrahim Kanade, who might have at his peak better performances, but more sporadic in those. So I'm all right with Mark A. I am. I'm all right with him. Would he have been my pick? Yeah, you know what? He probably would, because he's homegrown. He's at the right age. He's had a very, very good time at Crystal Palace. He's broken into the English national team, and from what I hear about him as a guy and in the dressing room and the way he carries himself, he just screams leadership. K-Day said, Craig, have you ever been to Hong Kong? Nope, never been to anywhere in Asia yet, mate. Yeah, not had the pleasure yet. Certainly, I do want to go and see the likes of Singapore, as an example. Eddie said, I don't think Hugo back up to Isak. So again, I don't think anybody's trying to say Hugo's going to be back up to Isak, Eddie. There is a world where we can play both in the same team, and there is a world where we have to rotate anyway. So I would say stop thinking about the starting 11. So all of us as fans, think about the squad and what's best for the squad. And what we don't want to happen is have a situation where we're turning to the bench to bring on a player and we're all shrugging our shoulders going, well, you know, the whole point is that there's going to be increased competition for places. Everyone's going to push each other to new levels. And as a unit, our stock will rise. So I don't think it's going to be a backup to anybody. I think it's just going to be a matter of how many forwards we bring in. If it's not Isak, it could be Rodrigo. If it's not Rodrigo, it might be Gordon. It might be Fofana. But there will be a plan for it. And they wouldn't sign if they thought they were going to come in to be a backup. And I don't think we'd be able to convince them either. Gordon Brown said, with Wirtz here, I think we should consider Nunez as a backup striker. I have a strong feeling he's going to have a better season than EKITIKE. I don't know what else to say, mate, other than it's pretty clear what the process is going to be for Darwin at the minute. I'd prefer to keep him over loaning him, but it's over for Darwin at Liverpool. It's just who pays the money at this point. Do you rate Santiago Jimenez, who played for Arna? So I've seen a handful of games since he's gone to AC Milan, and sometimes I watched them and he looked really good. Other times AC Milan didn't look very good, so difficult one to judge. But certainly was an interesting move for him, and I think it was probably a good move for him to go over to Serie A. But I don't see him being ready to come to us yet. Adam said, is there a risk that we're shaking up the squad too much and we might regress season of transition? Again, where's the too much change though? I just don't see it. The spine of the team's going to be the same. Alisson, Van Dijk, Maka, Gravenberch, Salah. I don't see too much change. You know, I think if we lost Virgil and Mo, I'd be worried about too much change. But I really don't see it. If you look at the starting 11, yes, there's an enforced change at right back. Left back, we needed change badly. And we've got one. And we've probably got the best version that we could have gotten. Midfield, we've just brought in an extra attacking midfielder. But the base of that midfield with Maka and Gravenberch or Szoboszlai and Gravenberch or whomever's still there. Up top, yes, there's a shake-up. Diaz moving on is potentially a surprise. I'll give you that one. Gakpo's staying. Salah's staying. Diogo, look, there's nobody's, nothing anybody could have done to plan for that. And then obviously Darwin in that situation is pretty straightforward. I don't think there's too much change yet. I really don't. And also, we did get the likes of Frimpong, Kirkes and Virtin early, which gives Arne the full pre-season, the full summer to work with them. If we had done some of these deals maybe later in the window, you might worry about too much change or implementing into the squad. But so far, so good for me. Marca said, sorry, my gran could have scored Darwin's hat-trick. Cash in while the stock is at a reasonable level. Look, I'm just trying to be polite, mate, about Darwin, because I don't want to insult anybody, especially people in my community that want him to do well. But I agree with you. The hat-trick was well taken, but there was nothing amazing about it. It was, 3 tap-ins, basically. But all well taken. His movement looked good. But, again, we're talking about Stoke and Preston in pre-season here. Ultimately, he didn't do it when the lights were on him, and it was Premier League and Champions League time. It just hasn't worked. And it's been 2 different coaches, and it's been 2.5 years. He's just not good enough. And is there a world where he goes to another league and scores 35? Absolutely. Sometimes it's just wrong league for the wrong player. Like somebody said, a good example of Diego Forlan. Banging them in with Atletico Madrid and in La Liga. But at United couldn't hit a barn door with a banjo. So I get it. Sometimes it's just not the right environment, league, culture for a player. And you just have to say this is one of those that didn't work out. Couldn't too many signings disrupt chemistry? Is that really where we're at now as a fan base? We're just looking for reasons to moan. I don't know what to say about some of the things. Like, for me, this is a dream. And I wanted a window like this for a long, long time. And I'm not seeing anybody leaving the club that Liverpool have not wanted to leave. And yes, Canade could be that person. Fair enough. And Trent did what he did there. But no, I just don't see it. I think we should just be incredibly excited and looking forward to what's going to happen over the next season, 5 seasons, however long. To me, I'm buzzing and really, really optimistic. But also huge pressure, right? Because there is an expectation now. Not winning a big trophy is a failure with this squad. But this is what you want. This is what Arne will have signed up for. This is, he'll believe in his abilities, he'll believe in the players' abilities, and he'll believe he'll be able to put together the game plans to go and deliver. I'd much rather be talking about too many great signings than screaming, where's the money, John? Jacob said, love the show. What do you think of Rodrigo's numbers? He's great in finals, but his goals and assists in the league in a strong team like Real is low. You said 60 goals and assists in 172 games. So I've always been a fan of Rodrygo. He's one of the few players at Madrid that never struck me as having an ego. But why hasn't it worked at Madrid in the way he would have wanted to was a fair question. And I try not to overemphasize that because I did the same thing with Ryan Gravenberch and I made myself feel very foolish because I thought, well, why has he gone from Ajax to Bayern and it hasn't worked at Bayern and now he's coming to Liverpool? There must be something. There must be a reason for it. But again, I trust whatever the data is that the club are looking at. If it points to Rodrigo as the one that they want, and remember, Michael Edwards has a long held interest in Rodrigo from when he was at, I think Santos was that the club he was at in Brazil. And I'm just happy. Look, if Diaz stayed and we didn't sign Rodrigo, I'd be more than happy as well because I like Lucho. This one, David. So just seen here on Sky Italia, Roma are ready to bid for Chiesa. Yeah, I'd seen Gasperini was interested. I had seen that. I can see a world now where Chiesa's there, David, crossing in for Evan Ferguson to bang in hat-tricks for Roma. And as the report mentioned from Empire of the Cop, they said 7 clubs are lining up potential move for Chiesa. Napoli, AC Milan, Roma, Juventus, Atalanta, Como, and Atletico Madrid. If I'm him, I wouldn't say no to a little spin in Atletico Madrid. If I'm him and I'm guaranteed the game time, after that, playing for Roma would be cool under Gasperini as well. Right, where are we at? Right, we're nearly at 2,500 votes for the Canade question. It simply is, does Canade stay? Yes or no? And when it gets to 2,500, we'll knock that vote on the head. I felt like I had something to say to you guys, and I've forgotten what it was. Nope. Sorry. I thought I had something profound in my mind that I thought I wanted to say, but I can't remember what it was. So it couldn't have been that profound, could it? Mind Trap. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate you. Eddie said, sorry, that wasn't supposed to say. Eddie, you don't have to ever apologise to me, dude. We're both Irish. I understand your thought process, mate. And I understand the question as well. And I understand you sticking up for the new signing as well, dude. All good, Eddie. Nothing but love. Isak poll. Oh, you want your daily Isak poll? I got your poll, dude. Don't worry, we got it. Right, nearly there. Just need 30 more votes, and then we'll be at 2.5, and we'll have a nice sample size. After this window, we won't spend as big for another 6 or 7 years. Maybe, yeah, maybe, but we shouldn't need to. It should be squad maintenance for the next at least 3 or 4 years, let's say, maybe 1 or 2 in each season. And that's okay, once you've front-loaded it like we are. Right, thank you to everyone that voted in that. So 63% of people think that Ibrahima Konate doesn't stay. So, for the Isak poll, would you like me to ask, does he leave Newcastle or does he sign for us? Because I'm intrigued to see if he leaves Newcastle full stop. And I'm also intrigued to see if he does leave Newcastle, even if it isn't for us, how their fans react to that. Because they were all shits and giggles when they thought that he was not coming to us and they were going to keep him, ha 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 ha. But if they lose him to Saudi Arabia even, yeah. Right, so let's do the poll and I'll try and get both answers in. So bear with me 1 sec while I type this out. Cool. Right, so what happens with Isak this summer? Stays at Newcastle, joins Liverpool, or joins somebody else? So let's see what we think. Al Hilal an option. Well, they're in the mix for him. They genuinely are in the mix for him, so let's wait and see what happens there. This one. from Danny. Said Darwin could have a 20-goal season, yet he'd still have it in him to miss super important goals. We can't have that liability in the team. Agreed. And I think about these things and who would I want one-on-one in the Champions League final in the 94th minute? And Darwin Nunez name ain't anywhere near the top of that list for me. So for that reason, Danny, and what we've seen over the time he's been here, I agree. It's time to move on. So my United supporting mate has messaged me to say that there was an option of an extra year in the Brentford contract of Mbomo. Dude, you're still paying 71 million. Would you stop it? In the same way that, every add-on that we're talked about for the likes of Verts is mentioned as the headline number. Yeah, so 71 million is the number, but appreciate you letting me know about the situation on the year. I assumed that you wouldn't have been that stupid, but yeah, at least it makes sense if there was an option of another year. Darwin never learned English, tells you a lot. I think he did. If I'm not mistaken, lads, I think at the end, in this season anyway, I'm sure I've heard him speak a few bits of English. No, it took him long enough to learn it, but yeah, I don't know. But I do think he's learned some English. I think Nunez stays, says Kevin John. I greatly disagree, Kevin John, but again, I appreciate your perspective. Martin Lawrence always makes me chuckle when I see your name, bro, because I'm convinced, even though you're in Europe, obviously, because it's a euro currency, I'm convinced it's the comedian actor Martin Lawrence. There were fans complaining when FSG didn't sign players. Some fans are now worried FSG have signed too many players. I know which approach I prefer. Oh, dude, I was definitely in the complaining we weren't signing players camp, but you're not going to get me in the complaining we're signing too many camp. No, I'm very grateful for the business we're doing, and I think it looks really good business. Richard Davies, excuse me, Richard, said, would Nunez and 60 million for Isak be a good deal? I'd go with that, Richard, but I've no idea if Newcastle or Darwin would be interested in that. I mean, you wouldn't want, this is going to sound weird, right? But you wouldn't want to sell Darwin to Newcastle and then imagine you start doing it in the Prem at Newcastle. So I can see Liverpool wanting to move him abroad and outside the league just in case. Because, imagine he start having 30 goal seasons at Newcastle. It would be a weird one, but then again, if Isak was doing the same for us, would you really mind? I think more likelihood of maybe Elliott is a potential in a make way, but again, I really just don't know, Richard, where the Isak situation is at the minute, mate. I'm almost afraid to dream too big, if that makes sense. So poll is up. What happens with Isak this summer? Stays at Newcastle, joins Liverpool, or joins somebody else? John, how are we, my friend? John Edinger said, it's just amazing that John is finally spending the money. Thank you, John and FSG. And look, I very much echo that sentiment. I called and asked and pleaded and shouted and moaned for spending. And this is more than I could have ever hoped for. This is honestly incredible, and absolutely the club deserve credit. Hughes deserves it, Edwards deserves it, Tom Werner, John W. Henry, Mike Gordon, all of them. This has been so far executed brilliantly, and it's not over yet. That's the exciting part. Like, whatever else happens, we've brought in ENQUIRIES, we've brought in EKITIKE, we've brought in Mamardashvili, we've brought in Frimpong, we've brought in Verts. So, wow, that's astonishingly good. Eddie said, I live in Oxfordshire and I get told by people with Ocean support Liverpool, I should support Oxford. I'll never stop standing up against that support your local argument. Look, there's nothing wrong with supporting your local. And if you go a few Oxford United games, whatever, sound. But we all fall in love with a football club for various reasons at various times in our lives. And there's various different things that attract it. So to me, I kind of fluked into supporting Liverpool. Like I've explained my situation before. I don't have a father or a big brother or a sister or anybody who forced me into supporting Liverpool. I just got captivated watching us lose to Arsenal 2-0 when Arsenal won the First Division title. And then I started to love the stadium. And then I started to research Liverpool as a city. And then I started to see the big Irish influence on Liverpool. And the more I read, the more endeared I was to Liverpool. And the more I learned about the emigration over to Liverpool when there was no work here in Ireland, I just, that connection grew over time. And nobody will ever tell me that I don't feel a real bond and connection to the club and the city. Nobody will ever tell me that. And nobody should ever tell anybody that, because it's like anything else. You don't choose the person you fall in love with. You don't choose the music that you fall in love with. You don't choose the food that you fall in love with, you know? This is our lives, and nobody should be able to tell us how we should and shouldn't feel. Marquis, thank you, my friend. Appreciate you. Does Hugo speak English? That's a really good question. Does anybody know if Mr. EKITIKE speaks English or not? I don't know. Barnaby said, your story about why you support Liverpool is almost exactly like mine, and I live in the US. You're at least fairly close to Liverpool. Exactly, mate. We all fall in love for whatever reason. So, yeah, he does speak English. The chat are letting me know, Eddie. So there you go. That's definitely a plus as well. Yeah, look, we all bite or get bitten by the bug for whatever reason, you know? Like I said, my kids have been forced into the Liverpool side of it because, you know, as soon as they were born, and my wife hadn't even left the hospital and the Liverpool baby grows and stuff were out. But for me, I stumbled into it, you know. My dad wasn't really a big football fan. I've no brothers and sisters. I'm an only child, so I kind of fell into football myself and then just loved Liverpool. And I feel like that everything that's happened in my lifetime, between the Hillsborough tragedy, between the city fighting for justice, it just made me have more love and respect for the people of Liverpool. And every time that they're knocked down, they stand up and they fight. And that, to me, is the type of people I want to be with. That's the type of people that I want to put my love behind. People that are respectful, love their community, stand up for themselves, even in difficult circumstances. That's my type of people. Cancelled said, is it just me who have a feeling that Darwin would be crazy good this season if he stays? I kind of want him to stay. I don't think it is just you, but I do think it's not based off reality. I think it's endearing that you want him to do well. And yeah, he's done all right in pre-season, but it's just not worth the risk for me. And it's not worth him having another strop on social media or moaning around or moping around the place. You know, just get him a move that works for him and his family and works for us, and just draw a line under it and move on. Kelly, how are we, my friend? Always makes me feel great. It starts off with evening, young Craig. Silly question: are Liverpool's 2 matches in the Far East being televised? They are. The one on Saturday is 12:30 on LFC TV, and the one against Yokohama Marinos is a 11:30, and again on LFC TV. I won't be covering the Yokohama Marinos game because 11:30 is right in the middle of my sleep. But I will drag my arse out of bed for the AC Milan game. But yeah, they're both on LFC TV. And All Red, I think, the streaming platform as well. He had a bad season last season, but he's capable of brilliance. He is, but he's not showing it. And, you know, we can't talk about potential because potential has to be realised at some point. And if Darwin had 1 year, or if Arne Slot had just come in this year and maybe he'd only worked with Kloppo, maybe I could say to myself, maybe it's just something between him and Klopp that Klopp maybe couldn't communicate to him, or they didn't bond, or you could try to figure out something. But Arne's had a look at him over a year, Jurgen had him before that, and I just keep coming back to thinking, if the recruitment team had been the same, there's no way we'd have signed him. Ibrahim, how are we, dude? Said, became interested in Liverpool the moment Klopp joined. Became invested and a fan when Salah was signed. Favourite player since Basel. Greetings from Dortmund. Well, greetings to you, Ibrahim, and thank you for sharing your story, mate, of when you became a Liverpool fan. The whole time Jurgen was here, I couldn't believe it, Ibrahim. I could not believe that Jurgen Norbert Klopp was Liverpool's manager. It was the biggest sign to me that we're moving in the right direction. It was the most important signing I think FSG have made, and it was still that unveiling, the black suit, the smile, all of it. I was all in from day one, and just unbelievable man crush on Jurgen. Chris said, there's a young lad at Leeds we should sign for the future. Harry Gray's the younger brother of Archie, but better. 16-year-old striker and unreal. Well, obviously, the Gray family, good stock. I think their grandfather was a player there as well. Obviously, Archie gone and joined Spurs. And I think he'll become a great player over time as well. But I will try to keep an eye on Harry, and I'll certainly reach out to Joe and a few other Leeds fans I know to ask about him. So thank you for that, Chris. Jay Cliff said, Craig, my two nephews are big Liverpool fans. I was visiting on holiday. I was watching match, screaming and roaring while watching them and singing along. Fast forward 2 years and I was taking them on a stadium tour. That's awesome, dude. It's amazing, isn't it? I love it. I love when... One of my favourite things about pre-season is it's always difficult, obviously, for a family to get to go and watch Liverpool together. You know, whether it's mum, dad and a couple of kids or whatever. But that's why I love the pre-season games. It gives an opportunity for, you know, families to maybe go a bit more affordable, certainly more availability to tickets. And it's great. It's great to see it. And one of my favourite aspects of the travelling cop as well is that there's always a good mix in there of younger Reds and more experienced Reds as well. Tropical Studios, yes, you can have a shout out, my friend. Welcome in and thank you for being with us. Right, ladies and gents, if I could ask you a little favour, if you haven't, do hit that like button for me, and of course don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Did you know we also have a clips channel, Anfield Agenda clips channel? My dream is for a clips channel to get the YouTube silver play button, which obviously is 100,000 subscribers. I think at the minute it's at about 52,000. So if you haven't subscribed to our clips channel, please do search it out on YouTube, Anfield Agenda clips. Connor takes all the best bite-sized moments of these streams and whatnot and puts them up on there as well. So again, appreciate you. This one from Will said, not devil's advocate, Craig, but think we should get Rodrigo. Salah at AFCON. His link-up play and injury record, I prefer him to share goals among the players. It makes sense. Look, you wouldn't sign a player to cover an AFCON alone, but your point still stands, Will. Rodrigo is a very sensible play. You know, you're getting somebody who's delivered and has proven and knows what it takes to win. And if you can get him for the price of Diaz, I think it's just good business all around. But I just don't know who Liverpool's priority is going to be next. If you told me 100% without a doubt that Isak was off the table, there's no world, there's no way, there's no chance, there's no how, I'm all in on Rodrigo right now, if that was the case. Bring me Rodrigo, sign Ibu to a new deal, get a young centre-back, job's a good one, and I'd be a very, very, very content Liverpool fan going into the season. Right, let's keep going. Ryan said, hey Craig, is there really a world where we could get Isak and Rodrigo? Have I lost the plot completely? I think if that happened and a centre-back like Gay, you'd find me passed out on the floor. So I look to the newspaper who I refuse to acknowledge by name because they refuse to acknowledge our channel exists. But I will talk about their journalists. And when you have the likes of Ian Doyle, who I would say would be a very measured, is that the right word? Journalist, who certainly wouldn't look to sensationalise what Liverpool might or might not do. When he's not ruling it out, and when many, many other journalists aren't ruling out the possibility of Isak, even after EKITIKE, I think as fans, we've got every right to dream that dream as well. Because we're not being told it's off the table. We're not being told it's impossible. So, yeah, keep dreaming. And if it happens, wow. Just wow. Chamu says, trade Canade plus cash for Rodrigo. Could happen, mate. Could happen. Again, though, the club won't want to lose Ibrahima Canade, but Real Madrid have inquired as to what it would take to sign Canade this summer. And if Ibrahima Canade turns around to Liverpool and says, look, lads, I'm off. I want to go to Madrid. Happy to see out my year or whatever, but I want to go to Madrid. Then I think, yeah, you look to that and you think, right, well, is there a way that we can open that channel of communication to do a deal for players that we would know would be happy to go in the opposite directions? A lot of the time when we talk about hypothetical player trades, we don't really know what the players want. But in this scenario, if Rodrygo was to be leaving Madrid, well, there's a very good chance Liverpool are a really attractive proposition for him. And again, in the other direction, we'd know if Canade was leaving, he'd be leaving because he wanted to go to Madrid. So, yeah, absolutely a world where it's possible. What happened to Stefan? He had an operation at the end of the season on his hamstring. I'm not sure where he's at in his rehab, to be honest with you. I don't know. But there was 3 or 4 clubs keeping tabs on him. There was something I wanted to talk about, actually. 2 youngsters. 1 second. Where is this notes? Where is it? It's in this one, I think. Yeah, 1 sec. Where is it? So, Derby County are close to signing Liverpool left-back Owen Beck on loan for the season. Deal agreed, and the Wales under-21 international is expected to undergo medical later this week. And there's also talk of James McConnell, like we've mentioned, going out on loan as well. He will sign the new deal, and then the talk is that there is 3 options for him to go out on loan to, and I'm sure I have the list of those clubs here somewhere. Yeah, here we go. So West Brom, Derby County, and some clubs in the Bundesliga. So a couple of young players going out on loan there. So yeah, what happens with Stefan? Like I've said, I think we might see a late development in the window. If Arne is convinced he can come in and be a backup for Ryan, then I don't think we look to bring in a defensive midfielder. But if Arne isn't won over and feels like we're a bit light, there could be a world where we have a late move in the window. Kaz said, morning Craig and everyone, fab time to be a Red. Morning to you, Kaz, in Australia as well, and absolutely, it's incredible. What a time to be a Red, Kaz, and thank you for your support. Elias said, brother, I trust the club and the team, but remember this super chat, Joe Gomez will score a goal next season. Remember my wish. Well, I tell you what, Elias, there's not been many super chats that I want to come through more than yours, dude. We all want to see a Joe Gomez goal. So yeah, I hope you're right, and we're talking about Joe having done that by the end of the next season, because it feels wrong that he hasn't got that goal yet. What's this story here? Yeah, so Dario AS and Real Madrid are losing their minds. Real Madrid are looking to fill the void that Toni Kroos left with a proper replacement, which will only come if they sell Rodrygo. One of the options is Liverpool's Alexis McAllister. Yeah, cool, but that's not an option, because there's no way McAllister gets sold by Liverpool. And he said it himself. Yes, maybe someday he plays in La Liga, but it's not now, because there's unfinished business with him and us. And I think you're not getting him out of Liverpool anytime soon, especially for the numbers being mentioned. Like, for me, and I'm not trying to be sensationalist, Alexis McAllister is a £120 million midfielder. End of conversation. I would put him up there with Declan Rice, with Enzo Fernandez, Moise Caicedo. If they're all £105 million plus midfielders, then For me, Alexis McAllister is a £120 million midfielder, and I wouldn't sell him for any money this summer. Not even 120. I wouldn't. I love him, but then again, maybe I'm being too biased because I am a big Macca fan. Madrid claiming they're friends. I know, yeah, it's hilarious. There's no world I can see Liverpool selling Alexis McAllister this summer. No, not a chance. Dean said, Dean Tucker, how are we, Dean? Said Newcastle fans are losing their minds right now. They've always been quite decent, but are coming across like Arsenal fans, delusional. So, Dean, I've been absolutely rinsed by Newcastle fans. One of the clips that went onto Twitter or X has done like 6.5 million views of me being really tongue-in-cheek and sarcastic, saying Newcastle fans should be thanking us for helping them with the rebuild. Like, couldn't have been any more obviously sarcastic. And they've lost their fucking minds. And the amount of shit that I've had thrown at me, and anybody that watches our channel knows, I have been nothing but respectful over the years to Newcastle. Even look at the Irish guy and ask True Geordie. When they beat us in the cup final, within half an hour we'd message them both to say, well done lads, deserved win, best of luck. I don't get it. I don't get why the vitriol from Newcastle fans. It's their right to say yes or no. And we knocked on the door and I told them how this was going to unfold. Don't sell us Isak, that's no problem, but EKITIKE's gone off your list because we'll move on to him. And we have. And they should have sold Isak. They just should have, for all the reasons I've outlined many times, and none of them just because I want Isak, but because I think it's the right move for their club at this moment. As hard as that is to hear, because they need the money. Not for a lack of ownership investment, because of a lack of PSR wiggle room. And their transfer window has been really, really, really poor. They brought in Anthony Elanga, and that's it. They've lost out on 6 or 7 targets. They can't really kick on and push ahead. And not only that, but this Isak thing is just not going away. Every day the stories are written and it's in the player's head. I always will feel like they could have taken the money. They could have maybe moved for EKITIKE, and they would have gotten more than the player was worth as well. It just feels to me like they're being very short-sighted, and we're suddenly the big bad boys and the enemy and the bullies, when all we did was knock on the door and ask a question and move on. It's not our fault if, like that report says, Amanda Staveley promised them a contract in 2024 and she didn't deliver, and Paul Mitchell didn't deliver, and right now they still haven't got the ability to tie him down to a new deal. That's nobody else's fault. It's football. Right, so another report now. Anfield Sector posted, crediting at MC or at Cristiello, said breaking Atalanta will present a proposal of €12 million to Liverpool for Federico Chiesa. And hopefully this starts the bidding process, because I don't think €12 million is going to get it done. I don't know what the number would be, but €12 million, which is about £9 million, feels a bit light. Barry Gibbons, thank you, bro, for gifting 5 memberships. Really kind of you. And John Paul Jones, welcome to Anfield Agenda FC as well. Where are we at? Oh, God, it's 10:25 already. Where did the time go? So we asked you, what happens with Isak this summer? We've had 2,200 votes on it, and it's really, really close. But 46% of people think he joins Liverpool. 43% of people that voted thinks that he stays at Newcastle, and 11% only think he joins someone else. That's I love the optimism. Yeah, so over 56% of people think he either joins Liverpool or he leaves Newcastle for somewhere else. That is interesting. I am Tyler Gray said, genuinely, why did we sign Chiesa? I don't know. I've said this a few times, mate. I'd love to know who made the decision and what the thought process was, because it's always felt to me like it was a decision that wasn't one that Arne Slot was given much of a say in, because clearly he doesn't want to utilise him. Mr. M. Hate said, Craig, if we sell Nunez, Diaz, Chiesa, is Rodrigo and Isak realistic or just a pipe dream? Look, even my levels of delusion can't stretch to thinking that we sign EKITIKE, Isak and Rodrigo. I just can't see it. Could I maybe see a world where EKITIKE, Rodrigo and Fofana comes in? Maybe. But I don't think you're going to see 130, let's say, for Isak, 70 or 80 for Rodrigo, and whatever it is for Fofana. It just, I don't see that much money being spent. You could make the argument that we need that many more players in, because as you've mentioned, 4 out and 1 in, 2 in maybe, doesn't really do it. I do think you could make the argument for the third. If we buy Rodrigo, what happens to young Rio? I don't think it necessarily does much to block his pathway, to be honest with you. Because I still think young Rio is a year or 2 away from being ready every week. But also, Rodrigo doesn't necessarily only have to play on the left. He can play on the right. Maybe he can play centrally. And the idea is to just give Liverpool the squad that can interchange these players without a drop-off in performance. And that's the dream. So I think we'd find a way to we'd keep everybody happy. Windlord said, horrible thing to bring up, but AI said Liverpool could receive up to 100 million from insurance due to Diogo. I really, do you mean Anfield Index or AI as in, I'm assuming you're going to mean Anfield Index. And they certainly would have more information on that than me. You know, I know Mo Chatter is very well versed in all things football, finance. And like you said, it is a tough thing to bring up, but truth is, mate, I don't know what the situation. I would have to believe there is something there for clubs in case this type of scenario happens, but I'd be a liar, mate, if I told you I knew the ins and outs of it. Right, folks, I'm going to go record the nightly update video, which should be out again before 11 o'clock. Tomorrow, same time, same place. Hopefully see you here. So again, we'll have a video about 4:30, stream tomorrow 8:45, and of course a news video late as well. If you haven't joined our WhatsApp channel yet, don't forget, scan that QR code on the screen right there now. And if you want to come and see us in Liverpool for our last ever show, you can scan that QR code and that will bring you to the tickets for a show on the 19th of October in Liverpool, our last ever stage show. Right, thank you all so much. Thank you to our sponsor Surfshark as well, and thank you all for another amazing evening. We'll chat